You brilliant, deranged, wonderful, wonderful man. What did I watch and why did I love it so much?
I don't know, but I'm glad you loved it.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Our Past. Today I'm joined by Andrew Bowser, the writer, director, star, editor, mad brainchild behind Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls, which is coming to theaters on October 19th, 2023. I'm going to talk to him right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. All right, so thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Andrew Bowser, the writer, director, star, editor, brainchild behind this film, Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls, which is coming to theaters on October 19th, 2023. It is this just amazing blend of like 80s energy, 90s pop culture, outcast energy, and nerd energy. It is a unique, wonderful, hilarious film. I absolutely loved it. I'm so excited to talk to you about it. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for those kind words.
Of course, no. So I don't watch trailers before I see movies, so I had no idea what to expect, and this was definitely out of left field, but it was just so much fun to watch. So
I think that's a good way to go into this movie. I think it's good to go in without knowing too much.
yeah, no, it definitely makes for some fun surprises. So, I guess
Yeah.
this was a, I guess kind of like web series that you cultivated years ago. What made you want to then tell a more fully fleshed out Onyx Odyssey?
Well, I think over the last 10 years, I've really fallen in love with the character in a way that I didn't expect when I first started performing him. And I could not get a proper feature funded through traditional routes. Just didn't have the connections in LA to get it done. Whereas Onyx had been so prevalent on the internet over the years, I thought maybe I could leverage his popularity toward a crowdfunding effort. And when I sat down to think of, well, what would that film be? This is what came up because this is the subgenre that I love the most. And even though in the beginning, maybe there was a chip on my shoulder around the thought that I had to crowdfund something and that Hollywood wasn't just writing me checks to make Onyx movies, I actually fell in love with that process because it put me in touch with my fans and my community in a way that, I don't know, it was really heartwarming. And it became a huge part of why I loved making this movie.
I am very, very happy that you crowdfunded this and didn't go a traditional route, because I imagine if you went with a more traditional backer route, it might not have had some of the interesting like angles, some of the jokes, some of the, references that were in this film. Those might have gotten cut for various reasons.
Very, very much so. I think the only way now, looking back at the shape of this movie and the personality of this movie, the only way it took this specific shape was because it was partially crowdfunded, which allowed me to be more of a creative boss than if I had, been financed by a production company or studio. Somebody would have read that script and said, "Hey, take out a couple of the Alf jokes, dude," or they might have said, "Take out the music video segment," So I was able to have free reign because of my backers and because of the confidence my producers had in me when they did eventually come on board. And they did have to find us further financing. But at that point, I think the stage was kind of set for what this film would be.
Yeah, once you have a successful Kickstarter, it's almost like a proof of concept. You're like, look, there are at least these many like crazy people that will like the film, and that must mean that other crazy people will like it also. So
totally. And the language of the Kickstarter was, I want to make this film my way. Help me do that. And there was no world where I would flip on my backers and say, well, I needed to find more money, so now this producer or investor is the boss. We had to keep it balanced where I could ultimately do what I wanted to do, for better or for worse. Hopefully for better.
Oh, definitely for better. Yeah, I can imagine like this going to a traditional studio, them reading the script, being like, interesting.
I think the only way you get something like this in 2023 is through crowdfunding. It isn't a character that I never got on SNL. This isn't a character that really made sense to many people in this format other than me and my fans. So this was like the only way forward, and I'm so happy that it happened that way.
Definitely. And so I guess where did the original character come from? Was it just like, did you have him in your head? Did you just like spontaneously start doing this and it just kind of like grew? Where did Onyx or Marcus originally come from?
The truth is, the first bit of Onyx that I ever hit upon was what many people now consider to be his catchphrase, which is how fast he says, I don't know. That was the first thing that came to mind, that I wanted to do a character that was so insecure that he backpedaled immediately after any statement, even if he was positive. If somebody said, what's your favorite horror movie? And he said, Pumpkinhead? I don't know. It meant something to me. It was like an unlocking of a psyche that I then just started investigating over the course of these viral videos. And I realized now, looking back, that, like Paul Rubens workshopped Pee Wee by doing live shows with him. I was never much of a live performer. I've always been a videographer, filmmaker, editor first. And so my workshop with Onyx was this series of viral videos. And over the course of those, I've found other ways in his personality and other ways to explore his mental state. And that's what ultimately led to me wanting to explore a longer narrative in the film.
I love that. I love how you described like he's so like he lacks so much confidence that even when he says something concrete, he immediately goes, I don't know. Because like just seeing him at the start, you're like what is his deal? It seems like every time he's talking, he's either like worried he's gonna get punched in the face or has to go to the bathroom, and it's just like it grows on you though. Like towards the end, you're just like, this is a wonderful, wonderful character.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, he's in a frozen state of anxiety, and I have only realized this recently, that there's a reason he is a manifestation of my fifth grade self. I think I experienced a lot of, ultimately what I now know was an undiagnosed anxiety disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder that went undiagnosed in me as a kid until I was in my 30s when I got diagnosed. So I realized that Onyx's constant look of fear was kind of how I navigated my adolescence. And as an adult now, and someone who's in therapy and also medicated, I can look at Onyx and say, he's not all of me anymore. But as a child, he really was. I mean, that was my state. My resting state was, who's going to hit me in the face? Who's going to throw lightning down? How am I going to get zapped in this scenario or situation? But I didn't know that about him until recently, that's kind of always what he was for me.
And knowing that this is based on your fifth grade self, I don't know if I want to see those sketchbooks and what various animated characters are in there, but
they exist. I had a crew of people in middle school. We were called the Born Losers, and we just traded comic strips back and forth with each other. And they got crazier and crazier as the day went on. And then one of us kept them all in a binder, and eventually that binder did get me in trouble.
I see you can never run for president, but I don't know if you even want that job.
Right. No.
And I love that too, because this film really does have like an 80s, 90s energy, like a time before the internet, the time before, like, it has all these references to things that I loved growing up. And I love your story there, because that is like how it was back then, right? Like you kind of had to make your own creative, you had to let your own creative juices flow to kind of get this content, because it wasn't as easily available as it is now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, writing this script was really just like stream of consciousness, just me thinking back to the things I loved as a kid, and getting to play with them now. Making cartoons and making toys and getting posters designed. And Onyx has really let me kind of continue to play in the world that I played in as a child.
No, I love that. I love that continues forward, and that some of your dark fantasies are now on the big screen for all to see. Right. I love it.
Yep.
So other than you and Onyx being a big draw, like I was amazed that you got Barbara Crampton involved in this. How did you get her? Like what do you have on her? What information do you have on her?
The only information I have on her is that she's the sweetest, most supportive actress in the horror genre. She wrote me back the first time I wrote her about a short film that I wanted to make years ago, and we worked on that together. And then I, as a director, worked on some branded content for Ash versus Evil Dead and cast her in a short with Bruce Campbell. and we've just had a good working relationship since then. But it really comes down to the fact that she listens to new filmmakers and takes them seriously and loves the genre enough to support those new filmmakers. And I hope she'll be a collaborator for many, many years to come, because she is a dream.
Yeah, definitely. No, she is an icon in the genre, and I loved hearing that she is still kind of, she still has her claws in it, her like wonderful scream queen claws in the genre, trying to make new stuff happen.
Totally.
And how about Jeffrey Combs? Did you work with him before? Or did Barbara help bring him in?
Barbara did. And actually, I had not pictured Jeffrey in the role of Bartok, even though he is one of my favorite actors. And I think if there's any tone that makes sense for the Onyx world, it would be the Stuart Gordon, Jeffrey Combs blend, that grounded emotion with absurd circumstances swirling around them. And I don't know why I hadn't thought of Jeffrey sooner, except for the fact that I always thought of Jeffrey as maybe too similar in energy to Onyx. You know, Jeffrey's very wily and can be a menace and can play villainous, but it's usually because he's an underdog that's backed into a corner, and you know, and his characters come up with kind of devious ways to survive. But Barbara said, yeah, but you haven't worked with him, and you don't know what he can do now at his age with his experience. I think you're going to be surprised at how he could play a looming Hammer horror style villain. And she was right. So it was her suggestion to even think about Jeffrey in that context. And I'm so glad she prompted me to do so, because the first day we filmed with him, it made me feel like Stuart Gordon when I saw what we were capturing and just how much of a command he can have over a scene in an unexpected way. I mean, you really don't know which direction he's going to go. So I'm so happy that they're both in the film.
No, I love that this is like your childhood wish fulfillment in every way, right? Like I bet when you were growing up, you're like, oh my God, I hope I can someday do a movie with Barbara Crampton. Like that would be amazing. And here we are.
I know. There was a day on set where we took a photo with us three, and I was like, well, teenage Andrew is very, very happy today.
Exactly. And current Andrew, but yes, the inner child is bursting. And I loved having Olivia Taylor Dudley in this, and I saw that she was also a producer. So how did she get involved? You know, had you worked with her before? Or did she just kind of read the script and be like, this is amazing, I want to do whatever I can?
No, Olivia and I are old friends and very frequent collaborators. And for probably 10 or 11 years, we have traded scripts and given each other notes. And she has acted in a number of shorts with me. And she's a part of shaping the story from the very beginning. She's the producer that I sent every page of the Onyx movie to, and she would give me feedback. And then through the edit, she was the producer that was there with me saying, hey, Bowles, I think that scene needs to be slowed down, or hey, I think you're thinking a little too much like an editor. Don't forget your director cap. Put that back on. And she really guided me through the post process. So she is an integral creative element to really anything I do, but definitely this film. Her fingerprints are all over it. And on the set, she's the one watching me and saying, I think you're losing energy. Pick it up. You know, she's giving me notes.
That is awesome. A true collaborator. And she was responsible, along with you, for my favorite scene, the music scene. That was just amazing. Like when that happened, I just my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe that this was in a movie, that this was like there.
Me neither. That was true wish fulfillment, was singing a song like that, and taking a whole day to shoot that music video portion was a dream come true.
And so when I was watching this film, like I loved everything. But one of my questions was like, how did this get through legal? Was that a very long process?
No, everything was cleared, and we secured the rights to cover the Meatloaf song. And it, was a back and forth with the publisher and our lawyer, but they approved it. I think they just responded to the material and thought it was funny and an endearing homage, and they went with it.
That is amazing, because I hear with a lot of indie movies, especially with music's involved, like it's down to the wire. You're like not sure if you're gonna get clearance, and then maybe like the end, like right before it goes to print, like you get a letter. And this, you like had an entire scene and themes around this. That's amazing.
Totally. And we knew we had the rights prior to shooting, so we knew we were going to be okay.
I love it. And
Yeah.
I imagine that this is hopefully not the last Onyx story. It kind of ends with a path for a sequel. Is there any thoughts of a sequel, or are you just trying to see how this does and then see what happens?
Well, I've already written about half of the sequel, so I hope it happens.
Yes.
Yes, I very much know where I want to go with a second one, and I really hope it happens. So hopefully this does well and people respond to it, so we can at least do a chapter 2. I can have my Secret of the Ooze, so to speak.
And hopefully Vanilla Ice will be involved, because that would be
I hope so.
Good reference too. A 90s reference
I
is
hope
perfect.
so. Totally.
So I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the movie. You can feel free to pass on any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay.
First question is, have you ever visited the Satanic Church?
No, but I might be visiting the Satanic Temple in Salem soon.
Ooh, that's a good location to visit one too.
Mm-hmm.
Follow-up question to this. When was the last time that you went to like a traditional church?
Oof. I grew up in the church.
Ah.
But it's been a number of years, and I'd probably say 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
And I don't think I'll be going back.
I mean, you're always probably welcome back, but yeah, it might be a little awkward. That confession might take a very long time.
Yeah.
So in this film, your characters have to leave a personal item to acquire something. If you had to leave a personal item, what would you leave? What like either do you have on you, or was something that is meaningful to you that you would leave?
Oh gosh, I actually I hold on to things for like cycles of time, and they're usually beer bottle caps. And I'd probably leave a beer bottle cap from like one of my favorite Dogfish Head beers. I would keep that in my pocket for a few months until my wife would make me throw it out, and then I'd get another bottle cap and hold on to it. And beer bottle cap.
That's a good exchange too. That's a very good exchange. Do you have a lunchbox?
I do. I have a Ghostbusters lunchbox in my office.
I love it. That's awesome.
The real Ghostbusters, the animated show.
That's amazing. An original one from the 80s?
Yep, totally.
That's amazing. Do you have any verbal tics?
I don't have verbal tics, but I used to have a problem with counting. When I had problems with OCD, I would count under my breath. And so sometimes when my anxiety rises, I have that, it comes back, but not as strong as it. When I was a kid, I used to have to like count before walking over thresholds of doors, etc. But never any vocal tics. It was stuff that I could kind of hide. I could say it under my breath. One of my buddies caught it one time, and he was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Huh?" And he's like, "What were you doing? Counting?" And I was like, "Yeah, what? No." So it almost went unnoticed.
I am glad that you were able to overcome that. It definitely sounds like some sort of anxiety when you were young.
It was, yeah.
Have you ever drank absinthe?
Not real absinthe. We had absinthe, just store-bought absinthe, actually during Sundance. We had it in our Airbnb. We would drink absinthe and watch Alf every night when we got back to the Airbnb. As a little tradition. Yeah.
That's perfect. Have you ever won like a contest, like an online contest or a mail-in contest?
2 very important contests I won.
Whoa.
I won a piano walking contest as a child that got me a gift certificate to Sears, where I bought the first Nintendo. And then I won a music video competition for Boxcar Racer when I was a late teen, maybe early 20s. And that gave me the money to buy my first Mac computer and Final Cut Pro. And those 2 were really, really big. Outside of getting into Sundance, it was piano walking, Boxcar Racer, and Sundance. Those are the 3 things that I feel like I've won in my life.
Those all sound like foundational milestones in your journey as well. I love it.
They are.
And the last darkest question, have you ever written fan fiction?
I don't think I've written what most people would describe as fan fiction. I just think most things I write are fan fiction. I mean, writing a music video where I'm Meatloaf and there is a demon gadget hack wrench is pretty much indie film fan fiction.
Yeah, no, that is a special form of fan fiction. And some of the comics that you were describing as a kid, I guess those would be canonical fan fiction these days, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. So it sounds like you have been trading for this your whole life. This film is a just wonderful, unique fever dream. I absolutely loved it. You should definitely check it out when it comes out on October 19th, 2023. This is Andrew Bowser, the writer, director, star, editor, Funder. He is the one-man show behind Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. Definitely check it out. And thank you so much for your time. I love it. And I really hope that there are more stories from Onyx in the future because it spoke to me in a way that most movies don't.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was Andrew Bowser, the writer, director, star, editor, mad brainchild, crazy person behind Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls, which is coming to theaters on October 19, 2023. It is just this unique, wonderful, interesting, strange meld of like 80s energy, 90s pop culture, nerd culture, and just like outsider, outcast energy. It is such a fun film. I loved it. I loved it from start to finish. And I definitely think you should check it out when it comes to theaters. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.